Okay, all right. So I had to do this video today because I need to focus on my whole gut reaction around cannabis, around the drug community, around the hemp community, because this legalization of cannabis is very, very political. And it's not so much that the government is trying to appease addictions, it's also having to do with biotech corporations that figured out how to manipulate your hormones and to, I guess, play out the problem reaction solution. Hey, Kathy. Okay, we have a problem here. Oh gosh, we got cancer. What's the reaction? Find a cure. What's the solution? Oh, they know how the human body works in some ways. They know that hormones and yeast and natural killer cells all work off each other. The body does keep a balance if it's in relative good health. But what happens when you focus on any one aspect? When you put too many hormones in your body, guess what? You have a hormonal imbalance, and you have aging, and you have death. Guess what? You have too many natural killer cells, too many antibodies, too many T cells, you get autoimmunity as well as cancer, disease, and chronic illness. Okay? You have too much candida, too much fungus. Guess what? That overwhelms the body, and it eats you alive. And then guess what they're doing when you have too much candida? They take a hormone. They go say, oh yeah, take some cannabis. Oh, go take some other type of antibiotic, anti-inflammatory. And then you anesthetize yourself. Maybe you disappear the cancer, but maybe you don't, because here's the thing. All of those methods only work relative to how far gone you are. If you're 99% battery dead, it doesn't matter which hormone, which candida, which natural killer cell you induce, you're already at 99% battery dead, because guess what the common denominator of all of those to keep them at bay? It's strategic nutrition. It's healing and sealing. And when you are too hormonally imbalanced, too dominant in one hormone, that is your death sentence. And that is why Rick Simpson is aging. And that is why they're able to cure cancer with not only Rick Simpson stuff, but other protocols that are out there that use and manipulate hormones. Doesn't mean that you're on the right track. Doesn't mean that you are reversing the aging process. You just took away a symptom. But you're still on the death trajectory, because the three things that kill a person is too many natural killer cells, too many antibodies, because you cannot mix A, B, and O blood together. It induces too many antibodies, and it shuts the system down if you're an O negative person receiving an A, B positive blood, because that antigen creates antibodies, it shuts the body down. You put too much focus on candida and all of that, trying to just, what was I saying? Okay, so you put too much focus on too much focus on the natural killer cells. So there are three things that shut a body down: too many natural killer cells, antibodies, too much candida, because basically it's yeast. Yeast is the body's natural cleanser. But when you overfeed it with sugar, alcohol, and sugar substitutes and all of that, guess what? You are contributing to the overaccumulation of the cancer cells. And it also induces hormones, because guess what? It puts you on a death trajectory. When you're on a death trajectory, guess what? Hormones get created. And this is what creates the different procreation categories. And there's other mutations that happen too. I mean, it's not just the hormones, not just cancer, disease, and chronic illness. I mean, there's other mutations. Those are all actually mutations. Any overabundance of candida, natural killer cells, hormones, too many hormones. Guess what? Too many hormones. Look what happens when someone's diabetic. That means they have too much natural killer cells that are taking insulin. But guess what? They're still on a death trajectory. Too many hormones like estrogen dominance, guess what you saw? PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. You're seeing Raynaud's disease. You're seeing all these different autoimmune disorders. Autoimmunity is too many natural killer cells, and they're taking, hormones to try to offset it, but it still gets them on a death trajectory no matter what. Cannabis is going to be the death of our society because it's so accepted, because cancer is the number one thing. Everyone's trying to find a cure, but they are focusing on the wrong thing. When you're inducing too many antibodies, you are causing autoimmunity. When you're feeding your body all this sugar and sugar substitutes, you are creating more cancer, more candida. When you are hormones, cancer, candida, natural killer cells, when you're inducing too many natural killer cells, yeah, you're creating autoimmunity. Too much, sugar or bad foods, you're creating too much cancer. And then too many antibiotics and anti-inflammatories and negative elements, you're creating more hormones. Okay, so this is why the cannabis industry is going to be detrimental, because guess what? We're going to have people who are smoking all this pot, causing a hormonal imbalance. Yeah, they may get rid of their cancer. Yeah, they may feel a little bit better, but they are producing a hormonal imbalance. And then they're going to try to offset it by eating vegan and vegetarian, but guess what? They still have candida. They still have leaky gut. So you're creating a hormonal imbalance, which is causing the death trajectory, which is going to keep the leaky gut and the candida going, and you'll never be able to absorb the maximum nutrition to be able to then create a space, a condition for indefinite life. There is no limb regeneration, age reversal, or reversing cancer, disease, and chronic illness and regrowing organs when you have imbalances on those three areas. Every single one of your issues, you guys, have to do with a hormonal imbalance, too many antibodies, and too much candida. Those are the three things. We finally freaking figured this out. So anyone talks about, oh, the endocannabinoids, well, that's attached to the endocrine system. That's attached to all your different hormones. When someone has pancreatic cancer, it's because they have a hormonal imbalance and they have natural killer cells that attack their hormones. And so to take their pancreas out, they're all messed up. Now they're taking synthetic hormones. Okay? So it's like, holy crap. So cannabis is probably the worst thing ever that's going to get legalized, because people are under a false sense of security because it's not like, something from biotech. Do you guys realize that when you are taking even natural stuff, what you think is natural, it's no different than a lab created stuff? It's all the same elements, just packaged up in a different way. That's why I brought in chemistry, so you understand when you break everything down to an elemental composition, there is no difference. It's all packaging. It's all marketing. And it's not the government's fault. Just so you guys know, you anti-government activists, it is not the government's fault. It is the corporations that own academia that feed into and give instruction to the government, and the government just regurgitates what the corporations are saying, because the corporations prop up academia. Yeah, they may all have a cozy relationship with each other, but the government doesn't know any better. Who is in the government? It's people who are educated by academia, who are run by corporations. Guess who's in control? Biotech. It's a corporation that needs repeat customers, and they have their hands in the holistic industry, in the cannabis industry, in the legalization of the drugs industry. They have their hands in every single one of those industries. And people think it's all about the government. No, the government is not the one that's wrong. They're the ones that are being fed that information, the wrong information. You think some entity just materializes information? No, it comes from somebody that has an ulterior motive, that have to line their pockets. Corporations who make a shit ton of money need to market things and make it sound like it's something official. Okay? And so what's the government going to do? I mean, they don't know any better. They're just as dumb as the next guy. So if you can make a case that makes it look good, they're going to buy it hook, line, and sinker. If it meets all of their check marks. If people aren't dying right off the bat, they're not totally just dropping dead from whatever it is that you're selling them, then hey, that's fine. If it kills them over time, we don't know. Correlation doesn't mean causation. That's why we have the law, because that way you substantiate any claims that you make. And I learned that when I had to substantiate the claims I was making to the Ohio Attorney General. Okay, so yeah, so it's not the government's fault. So anyone that's an anti-government, get off your platform. It is the corporations that are making money. Those are the ones that are selling your friends the pills, the powders, the supplements, the detoxes. You know, those are the ones that are actually instructing what the government is saying on the CDC, the FDA, the EPA. Academia is just kind of a place where it's a conduit between the government and the corporations. Academia is just like an officialized version of the party line. And that's how they're able to sell credibility. It's like, oh, it's from Stanford, it's from Harvard. But they're owned by the corporations. They're not an independent entity that just thought this up themselves. No, corporations make money, and then they make it sound like what they are selling is the absolute truth. And it's all marketing. And then you have, yes, cozy relationships in between academia and government. Yes, that is true. But who stands to gain? Who gets the money? It's the corporations. It's Bayer, it's Monsanto. But hey, but they're not the enemy still, because they're giving you a choice. It's not like they're coming into your house and forcing you to do anything. The fact that we have technology so we can be able to explore all of our options and make the choices says that, hey, they're now saying, you know what, you have to be the one to make a choice. We're not forcing it, so you can't blame us. But you have to know how this works before you start going after somebody. You got to know how it works. And if you don't know how it works, then guess what? You'll fall for any story, hook, line, and sinker. If you don't know the laws, you will believe every single story you see on the internet. And it's so obvious because I see, new reviews about Julie Juice. Oh, she's killing people. That's a person that doesn't know the laws, but they're believing every single story on the internet. They are in extreme reactive hormonal mode. You see it in your friends, you see it in your family, you see it on TV, you see it in politics, you see it everywhere. And so this whole legalization of cannabis is like, oh my God. But I guess, hey, we can have hormonally relaxed people who will then have to go from strain to strain to strain until they pass away because they are inducing more hormones. They're going to have a hormonal imbalance until they pass away. Look at Rick Simpson. If that isn't, an example of where you're going to end up, I don't know what else is. And so I don't want to hear any more arguments about endocannabinoids and the endocrine system because we don't want a hormonal imbalance in our body. We don't need to manipulate our hormones at all anymore to manage our cancer, disease, and chronic illness. We need nutrition. We need strategic nutrition that will keep the hormones at bay, keep the antibodies at bay, and keep the candida at bay. That's all we need. We don't need anything else. And the reason why cannabis is a controlled substance because it is deadly. It is detrimental to the human body. That's why cabbage isn't controlled. That's why salt isn't controlled. That's why water isn't controlled. Your body needs cabbage, water, and salt. And that's why lactobacillus is not controlled. You need probiotics, but the right kind paired with the right items. So cannabis is probably the worst thing. And I see people who have major hormonal imbalances, such as lupus, fibromyalgia, who are taking in cannabis candy. They're they're smoking pot all over the place. And then you're watching them degrade. They're going to die from a hormonal imbalance as well as too many natural killer cells because they have an autoimmune disorder and they're taking in cannabis. They're throwing their whole balance off their body because the three things that kill somebody is a hormonal imbalance, too many antibodies, and too much candida. Those are the three things. And the industry, the allopathic and the holistic industry, are utilizing those three things to try to, offset each other, the manifestations from what these things did to people. And they're still on a death trajectory. That is why there is no limb regeneration in the allopathic holistic industry. That's why there is no age reversal in the allopathic holistic industry. That is why there's no regrowing, regenerating, cells and organs really on a really deep basis, because they are dealing with the wrong things. They are manipulating your body. They're shape-shifting your body to different things until you pass away. They're making you buy time on this earth. That's a corporation type of thing. That ain't the government. The government's not trying to kill you. It's the corporations that want to make money. But now you have a choice. Thank you, Jacqueline. Now you have a choice, because now you have education. Now you have keywords to go and research if you don't believe me. But antibodies are bad because you will not mix A, B, and O blood together. You know that candida, cancer, is bad. And you know that too many hormonal imbalance is bad. Okay, so all of you are exhibiting all three of those things, or one that seems to be more predominant. But they all are working with each other. So if you have a hormonal imbalance, you have candida, and you have too many antibodies in your body, natural killer cells. And you're playing whack-a-mole. And that is going to be the rest of your life. So this is going to be key in your arguments against the cannabis industry. And I have deleted a lot of my pro-cannabis people off my page because they still keep focusing on the GMO versus organic and the hemp. Hemp is great, I guess, but do we even need it? If we understand how to balance and counter the negative forces out there, we have plastic. And and getting involved. And so we cut when you have the cans of soda, you cut all those little, those ties and stuff. And maybe we can do better as far as garbage and waste. But hey, we do what we can do. But the hemp industry, as far as, I don't know, heating and textiles, it's not really for all of that. Because what they're trying to do is make, pave the way for cannabis in your society so everyone gets stoned and high and cure cancer. When hormonal imbalance, which is what endocannabinoids and cannabis does, also kills people too. So remember, guys, the three things that kill you: a hormonal imbalance, too many antibodies, and candida. Those are the three things that will kill you. And they work off each other. So now look behind all of your pills, powder, supplements, and detoxes and figure out, oh my God, this is a heavy metal. This creates antibodies. When you look at the zeolite, it's all aluminum silicate. Does your body need that much aluminum silicate? And if you're going to poison your body, guess what? You're going to have antibodies no different than a vaccine that has pathogens. That's why there is no good vaccines out there either. And I saw someone come on here. So I'm going to reiterate real quick for Sarah Griffith. The three things that kill a person: a hormonal imbalance, and cannabis is tied to the endocannabinoid system. This is tied to the endocrine system that deals with your hormones. That will kill you. When you smoke too much pot, it will cause an imbalance in your body. Too much candida, fungus, cancer. And then too many natural killer cells that cause autoimmunity. Too many T cells, too many antibodies. Hormones, antibodies, and candida. Those are the three things. And every single one of your holistic and allopathic methodologies are manipulating those three things and throwing the balance off your body, causing you to pass away. Now, I know some of you need to have some of your cannabis to transition you through to your next level of healing. But you definitely, I mean, no different than doing sound therapy while you're trying to sleep that induce melatonin so you can sleep. No different than taking Tylenol or some psychotropic drug while you're healing. But don't let that be end all be all. Don't let that be the only thing you're doing. Don't let it be the only thing you're doing. Take the Jilly Juice. That has everything your body needs. Thank you, Connie. That has everything that your body needs is the Jilly Juice. And then you can manage those other things, as long as it's not the predominant thing. And then eventually you will transition off of those antibody producing, candida producing, hormone producing protocols. And that's everything in the allopathic, in the holistic market, in the vaccine. And I uncovered the GMO versus green vaccine. That's another smoke and mirrors that the holistic industry is putting out there. All right. So, all right, that's it. That's all I got. I mean, I'm pumped. I am so right now full of adrenaline. I got to find a way to relax. But I just had an aha today. Today has been an amazing day. A major aha, a major breakthrough. Go down my timeline, catch up. I got a lot of information. Go get a titer test so you don't have to get vaccines. And that way you can prove to CPS and everybody else that you have all the antibodies for every single antibody that there is a vaccine for. So if they give you a list of vaccination that you have to have, go get a titer test and you will prove to them, I have this antibody, this antibody, this antibody, this antibody. And then you can shut everybody up. Okay, I'm going to go do my thing, but go down my timeline, go figure it out, because all the methodologies you guys are trying to do to manage your children and yourselves as cancer, disease, and chronic illness is only going to put them more over the edge and more imbalanced and more mutated. So you got to take a stand for yourself and for your children. If not, guess what? It's going to be more predictable. The death is going to be predictable. It's going to be, the outcome is going to be inevitable. And you're welcome, Jacqueline. You're welcome. All right. Talk to you guys later. Good night.